In 1884, Henry Royce created F.H. Royce and Company to manufacture electric fittings. Within 10 years, he had expanded into dynamos and electric cranes, and in 1904 he built his first car. The Royce 10 used a water-cooled 1800cc twin and was 125 inches long on a 75-inch wheelbase, named for its horsepower. It caught the attention of dealer Charles Rolls, who agreed to sell as many as could be made under the Rolls-Royce name, with the line being expanded to include the 3-cylinder 15 horsepower, 4-cylinder 20 horsepower, and 6-cylinder 30 horsepower, with prices ranging from $395 to £890, although total production remained in double digits. That would start to change to some degree, however, with the 40-50 introduced in 1906, which helped move the brand into triple digits. Initially, on a 136-inch wheelbase and powered by a 7-liter, 429 cubic inch inline 6 with 48 horsepower, which in 1910 grew to a 7.2-liter 453. Wheelbase would increase in 1913 to 144 inches, and electric lights were added the following year, and electric start in 1919, and aircraft engine production would start in 1915 with their line of Eagle engines. The smaller Model 20 was added in 1922, only 178 inches long on a 129-inch wheelbase, and powered by a smaller 3.1-liter straight 6, priced around £1,600, allowing the bigger car, now called the Silver Ghost and up to 80 horsepower, to grow to a 151-inch wheelbase, and it would cost $13,000 in the U.S., but it would soon be replaced by the Phantom, offered in 144, 147, and 151-inch wheelbase versions. The engine was up to a 7.7-liter 468, and by this point, roughly a third of their sales were in the U.S. In 1929, the line was revised, with the big Phantom II getting an updated chassis and stiffer suspension, and the new smaller 2025 was up to a 3.7-liter, and would help carry Rolls-Royce through the Great Depression, being a reasonably good performer, able to exceed 75 miles an hour, get to 60 in 31.5 seconds, while getting better than 14 miles per gallon. In 1931, Rolls-Royce would take control of Bentley and restructure their line so the two brands were not directly competing. The Rolls-Royce line would once again be revised in 1936. The Phantom III was reduced to a 142-inch wheelbase, but gained a 7.3-liter 447 cubic inch V12, and prices were down to just over $9,000. The smaller 2530 was up to a 132-inch wheelbase and a 4.3-liter straight 6, costing just over $5,000. But it only lasted a couple of years, being replaced by the bigger 136-inch wheelbase Wraith in 1938, moving fully into the stealthy Ghost naming structure, and the end of anything even hinting at horsepower ratings. But production would be stopped in 1939 due to the war, with the Rolls-Royce Merlin aircraft engine playing a major role. The first post-war car would be the Silver Wraith, using a 4.3-liter 6 on a smaller 127-inch wheelbase. It was joined in 1949 by the smaller Silver Dawn, which was essentially a Bentley Mark 6 using its same 4.3-liter straight 6, with the bigger Phantom IV arriving in 1950, 227 inches long on a 145-inch wheelbase, and powered by a 5.7-liter straight 8, but only 18 would be made over 6 years. The small car became the Silver Cloud in 1955, initially on a 123-inch wheelbase, but a long 127-inch wheelbase version was added later. The straight 6 was up to 4.9 liters and 300 cubic inches by this point. But in 1959, Rolls-Royce moved to a 6.2-liter 380 cubic inch V8, being used in both the Silver Cloud II and the Phantom V, and horsepower was advertised as adequate. The Silver Cloud II of 1963 moved to quad headlights, updated the interior, and reduced weight. Although it continued through 1966, it was effectively replaced in 1965 by the Silver Shadow, a unibody design offered on either a 120 or 124-inch wheelbase, and differences between Rolls-Royce and Bentley became purely cosmetic. But the old design would carry on as the Phantom 6 limousine through 1990. The engine would be enlarged on most models starting in 1970 to 6.8 liters or 412 cubic inches. estimated to have over 200 horsepower. And starting in 1971, two-door variants would become a separate model as the Corniche. At the same time, Rolls-Royce would go into receivership, leading to government involvement due to military contracts for aircraft and marine engines, both domestic and abroad, leading to a restructured Rolls-Royce Motors in 1973 after its parent company was nationalized, and then to be taken over by Vickers Armstrong in 1980. At the same time, updated models arrived, as the Silver Spirit and long wheelbase Silver Spur, both up about an inch. Weight was around 5,000 pounds, and the series introduced the retractable hood ornament. The cars would get significant updates for 1988 that included automatic ride control and dampeners, ABS, and standard fuel injection. The next series of updates would arrive in 1992. Perhaps most notable was the independent reclining rear seats. For 1994 and 95, a turbocharged version was offered as the Flying Spur, a feature previously reserved for Bentleys dating back to 1982. Soon there would be a special Silver Dawn version with distinct trim and features, including a smaller grille, that would carry over to the other models with the refresh of 1995. The all-new Silver Seraph arrived in 1998. Standard models were 212 inches long on 123-inch wheelbase and 5,200 pounds, although the Park Ward limousine would carry over to this design, and the powertrain moved to a BMW-sourced 5.4-liter V12 with 322 horsepower. But Rolls-Royce Motors would be put up for sale at that same time, with Volkswagen winning the bid, which did not include the use of the Rolls-Royce name, meaning the continuation of the company was primarily limited to the Bentley brand. However, BMW would purchase the rights to the Rolls-Royce name and logo, and in 2003 would introduce an all-new car as the Phantom. It was 230 inches long on a 141-inch wheelbase, and in spite of a space frame with aluminum construction, weight was still 5,600 pounds. And the 6.7-liter BMW V12 produced 453 horsepower, with prices starting at over $325,000. And a convertible was added in 2007, and then a coupe in 2008. They were joined in 2010 by the smaller Ghost, only 213 inches long on a 130-inch wheelbase, and under 5,500 pounds, with a 6.6-liter twin-turbo V12 pushing 563 horsepower. For a 5-second 0 to 60, it could be had for $250,000. The Phantom would be updated for 2013, with prices climbing to around $400,000, and the Ghost would follow suit the next year, when the Wraith would be introduced, a Rolls-Royce attempt at a gentleman's Gran Turismo, with 624 horsepower from its 6.6-liter twin-turbo V12. It was 207 inches long on a 123-inch wheelbase, and under 5,400 pounds, advertising a 0 to 60 of 4.4 seconds and a top speed of 155 miles an hour. It was joined in 2016 by a convertible version called the Dawn. Then in 2018, Rolls-Royce would release an SUV called the Cullinan, starting around $325,000. It was 210 inches long on a 130-inch wheelbase and nearly 3 tons. The 6.7-liter V12 provides 563 horsepower, or 591 horsepower in the Black Edition. There was a new Ghost for 2021 that featured all-wheel drive and all-wheel steering, and 2024 added the Spectre, essentially an electric Wraith. Total Rolls-Royce sales have climbed above 5,000 annually, the best Rolls-Royce has ever seen. Yet globally it is one of the most recognized automobile brands of all time, giving BMW plenty of reasons to keep it around. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and like and subscribe.